Welcome back. Today we're going to be taking on Angkor Wat. Now there are two dungeons in this game that people tend to get stuck on. The first is Mu, with its combination of twisty little passages that look all alike, and enemies that'll kill you to death because you can't power up until you've gone through all the twisty passages that look all alike. Angkor Wat just has the enemies that'll kill you dead. It's not really challenging in terms of navigation or puzzles or anything like that. It's just out to kill you in any way it can. The enemies are powerful, they are plentiful, and like these flies, they are incredibly obnoxious and have bizarre movement patterns that make them difficult to kill. The first enemy we encountered was a shrubbery. It tends to blend into the other shrubberies, making it hard to find, and thus hard to power up because it's easy to forget that there is in fact an extra shrubbery that needs to be killed. The flies are obnoxious because their movement pattern is entirely random. But it's the Ridley tail head abomination things that are the real star of the outdoor portions of Angkor Wat. Because it's entirely possible to go through your entire life without having any idea how to kill them. What you need to do is wait for it to fire off its head/tail thing at you, and then hit it 3 times while it's extended, like so. Doing so blows it up, reveals the eye of the creature, and makes it vulnerable. What you might not realize is that if you only hit the head 2 times, and then it gets retracted, it regenerates back up to full health. Which leads some children, definitely not this child, to believe that the monster is completely invincible. This is obviously not the case. They also hit very hard, but they can drop health power-ups as well. And speaking of health power-ups, why bother with the dinky 5 HP recovery when I can get a full heal and an extra point added on to my total? You might have already noticed a pattern, considering how I dealt with those other enemies, but the spin dash is actually the most useful offensive ability for the enemies in this dungeon. Of course I'll forget about that as time goes by, and possibly due to a desire to use other moves as well. But when it comes to demon heads, and the Ridley tail/head abomination things, I'm just going to call them abominations for short, the spin dash really is the most useful move there is. The brown demon heads are particularly obnoxious. As we'll see plenty in the near future, if you don't kill them fast enough, they split into 2 ghastly images that can both damage you, but cannot be damaged. This is what we like to refer to in the business as total bullshit. The golems, however, are way easier to kill. While they do have their period of invincibility when they spin around, that period does not last forever, and they quickly go back to being walking targets. With one exception. But we'll do terrible things to that exception. So it doesn't really matter in the end. Again, I didn't get that spin dash off fast enough, and so this brown demon head got to split up and beat me up a little. But once you do get the spin dash off, and just let the monster run into you, it's easy pickings. Now there's another variety of the demon head, the pink one. They tend to move around on the walls. They'll speed up each time they're hit with anything, regardless of how much damage the particular hit does. So the best way to deal with them is to hit them with high-powered things like the Psycho Dash or the Psycho Slide, so that they're killed in the fewest number of hits possible. These ones start from rest. Hitting them will set them into motion. Hitting them repeatedly will kill them, as usual. And of course, using the fun damage frames of the Psycho Slider is an excellent way to kill them because they generally appear in cramped locations where they don't really have anywhere to run. What's especially fun is if they run away from your initial attack, only to reach a dead end when they have to rebound and come back towards you. This leads them to being hit more, so purple demon heads are alright, but these brown guys, good god, I hate them. There we go. The only problem with the spin dash is that you have to charge it up. And so sometimes, if you're in the heat of the moment and you're encountering a lot of enemies, including a brown demon head, you might just start swinging wildly with your flute in the hopes that you'll kill them off before they can split or do terrible things to you. Unfortunately, I did not entirely succeed there, and that's why I only have 3 HP left. Again, I should really emphasize that you want to use special moves on demon heads of all varieties, but especially the purple ones, because if they get into open space and you deal damage to them, but you don't actually kill them, as I demonstrate here, they're a bitch and a half. Oh god, what's going on? Okay, it's just dark. Well, that's not too bad. It's just adjust to the... Oh god, it's bugs. Bugs everywhere. Oh god. Now, it's making the damage sound while you're walking on the bugs, but you're not actually being hurt. It's just creepy and disgusting and strange. It's actually a really nice touch in this particular dungeon. You fall down into the basement in total darkness, but then as your eyes adjust to the darkness, you can see again, and oh god, it's bugs. I love it. It's like something straight out of Indiana Jones. When he falls into one of, the countless pits that he falls into that always have snakes. Because, he hates snakes, which is why all the pits are filled with them. Now, the spin dash is more effective against purple demon heads that are stationary to begin with. And in fact, for these ones, the Psycho Dash is better. It's easy to hit them twice, but I was a bit too far down and got caught on the pillar and was not able to hit them twice there. It also occurs to me that I've been neglecting the last of the indoor enemies, which is the scarab monsters that I just killed. They can be pretty obnoxious, especially in multiples if you don't kill them quickly. One will likely shoot little blue bolts at you. Those can be blocked by telekinesis, but they're still a pain in the ass. While the other ones on screen either fire extra bolts, or spit out extra enemies. Now the terrible green squiggly things these scarabs spawn don't count as actual enemies, but they can still kill you, and you can still kill them, so they're good enough for me. Let me tell you, this particular HP power-up is a godsend. The full heal is, as usual, completely awesome. And after it finishes, we can see that we've got 34 health now. There's only 6 more health power-ups in the entire game. If you really think about it, the game's actually very short. There haven't been, that many dungeons. Not that many towers, and oh god, that's another special move of the stone golems. When they jump down from a higher area, they drop a bunch of rocks from the ceiling, which can all hurt you. Gee, it sure would be nice to have a power that does something when we jump off of stuff. But little does Will know that what I've just wished for will be given to him in the worst way humanly possible. See, that purple demon head right there was a perfect candidate for being hit by the Psycho Dash. But it just didn't occur to me at the time because I was really feeling a strong desire to kick things in the face. Fortunately, the golems provided all the kicking fodder I could ever want. Now what we need to do is use the spin dash to go up that glass ramp thing. However, what I actually really need is this herb. Gotta fill up all those inventory spaces with 11 herbs. What happens if you need to pick up a red jewel, but you can't because your inventory is completely filled with herbs and items that you can't get rid of? well, you end up very sad because the game tells you that you can't have it. Fortunately, the item does not become lost forever. You can just get rid of an item and then do whatever you would have done to pick up the red jewel again, and you'll get it as normal. The scarabs are immune to all of your special abilities. As you can see, the spin dash passed straight through them, and you can't hit them with the psycho dash or slide either. However, lunging into them gets you to exactly the correct height, and lets you jump over the green things that they drop, so it's a great choice for fighting. There we go, finally got the Psycho Dash to work as advertised against the purple demon heads. Now, there are a lot of them, for seemingly no reason, so it's going to take a little while to get there. But rest assured that no demon head will go unpunched. During that particular interlude, you may have noticed that this place has its own unique dungeon music. Now, in every past dungeon that's had its own unique dungeon music, which is the Incan Ruins, the Sky Garden, Mu, and the Great Wall, there's been a boss at the end, and we've also gotten a mystic statue from them. That is not the case here. Angkor Wat does not have a boss or a mystic statue, but it does have a special prize for us at the end that you just can't afford to miss. This giant garden in the middle is, to the best of my knowledge, and actually based on the real temple Angkor Wat. It was, like the dungeon, a multi-tiered place, except it, also had a moat in addition to all the other stuff, and I'm pretty sure the shrubberies didn't try to come to life and kill you, and I'm also pretty sure that those terrible abominations didn't exist either. I've never been a fan of hedge mazes. Ever since the hedge maze in A Link to the Past, actually, before the first Dark World dungeon, I've never been a fan of them. I remember getting to the hedge maze in Young Merlin and being completely stuck as well. Fortunately, that's not the case here. There's no such thing as invisible pathways or stupid bullshit in this particular hedge maze, but there is a dark space. And once I finish off this last abomination, I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna transform into Fred. And then all of the enemies out here are totally fucked. You may ask yourself, what does a shrubbery monster do when it's set on fire by a swirling swarm of fireballs fired from Fred's sword? The answer is it dies horribly, just like everything else. Let me go find one to demonstrate it on. Actually, screw that. Let me go find 4 to demonstrate that on. While you might have only seen 3, there were actually 4 there. You could see that the last one dropped another Dark Jewel. The cool thing about the powered-up version of the Dark Friar is that its influence actually extends beyond the screen. And this is a property that will be extended to Fred's other powers, including the new one, and his final one, that we get in this dungeon. It's kind of... I wouldn't call it cheap, but it's definitely bizarre, and it's sometimes hard to realize that Fred's powers actually are reaching off-screen. And we'll demonstrate that once we receive his third one. As it stands, the first thing we have to do before we can get that last power is clear out this place and get its upgrade. Yes, hunger had destroyed many people that night. But not in the way that the game is implying that it has. Honestly, you don't starve to death in one night, unless you were already starving to begin with. What they mean when they say hunger devastated our comrades is that they were eaten by cannibals. That won't be the first time that the English localization team dances around the concept of cannibals. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the shrubberies aren't threatening in the slightest, but like they did here, they can make life very difficult if you want to collect all the power-ups, by just blending in. Now, it is easy to tell a regular bush from a shrubbery monster, but when you're fighting other stuff, and you realize that the Darkfire extends off screen, and you figure that an area that wasn't on screen when you fired it off last was probably hit by it. But that's actually not the case, and you don't realize it. Sometimes you miss a shrubbery, and you wind up with what just happened. At the end of this hallway, we will reach the dark space that will bestow upon us Fred's final, super climactic, definitely not disappointing in the slightest, power. Here we are. Oh wow, the Earthquaker. I'm sure that's a really exciting and excellent power. Scratch that. That sounds terrible. And we'll find out how terrible next time.